Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. لنبدأ الدرس الثالث عشر. Let's begin lesson number 13. This is one of the most important lessons of our learning or our journey of learning the Arabic language. And inshallah, after completing this lesson, our understanding of the Quran will be increased around 20 to 25%. And also it's a very easy lesson. So let's begin. As we can see that this lesson is about Jawazimun Mudari, choppers of the present tense. Why do we call them choppers? If you remember that for the Nawasib, we used the word that was hammers, and for the Jawazim, we are using the word choppers. Because they chop the ending of the noun, the verb becomes sakin. In book number 2, we have learned that la an-nahiyatu, which is la of prohibition, it makes the ending of the verb sakin, as we can see here. La tahzan, inna Allaha ma'ana. Don't be grieved, indeed Allah is with us. So this is called la an-nahiyatu, and we know that after this, the ending of the verb becomes sakin. And we use it to make a command or to prohibit someone to the second person, al-mukhatab, as we know, to the second person. Then we have learned lam. Lam is also one of the choppers. So the ending of the mudari becomes sakin, like lam yalid wa lam yulad. So basically it was yalidu wa yuladu, but because of lam, as we can see, the ending has been chopped. It has become sakin. It has become majzoom. And similarly, lamma, when we use it with the present tense, as we can see here, walamma yadkhul, and it is sakin basically. And when we connect it with al, then we have to add kasra, as we know that. So we will say walamma yadkhulil imanu fi qulubikum, and the faith has not entered your hearts yet. So we know that lamma gives the meaning of not yet, lam gives the meaning of didn't, and la is used to prohibit someone from doing something. So these three choppers, we already know about them. Jawazim, we know about them. And in this lesson, we are going to learn about lam al-amr, which is also one of the choppers that makes the ending of the mudari sakin. And then we have al-jazmu bit-talbi. Jazzm bi-talabi, and inshallah we will learn about it now. Lam of command or lam al-amr. So when we make fi'l al-amr, we know that we make fi'l al-amr to the second person. For example, we say idhab for the person who is singular masculine, and then for the dual we say idhaba, and for the masculine we say idhabu. And similarly, idhabi, idhaba, and idhabna. Whereas when we talk about lam al-amr, it is also used for the command, as we can see here, but it is used to make a command to the first person, to the first person, al-mutakallim, yani ana wa nahnu, and also for the third person, which is ghaib, So we use it to make command for the third person and for the first person. First, we look at the examples, and it has different types, or it has different forms, and all the 4 forms have been mentioned over here. So inshallah, if you are able to see, like basically li, as we can see here, li is called lam al-amr. Originally, lam al-amr is called li. So how do we differentiate between lam al-amr and lam al-ta'lil? We know that after lam al-ta'lil, the verb becomes mansub. It takes fatha. But after lam al-amr, the verb becomes sakin, as we can see here, liyunfiq. So now qaf, as we can see here, the ending of the verb has become sakin. It was basically liyunfiqu, but after the use of lam al-amr, it has become liyunfiq. Liyunfiq dhu sa'atin min sa'atihi. Let a man of wealth spend from his wealth. It gives several meanings. Sometimes it is translated as let, sometimes it is translated as should, and sometimes it is translated as may. So now it depends how it is used, and from the context, we will inshallah look at the different translations of the Quran, and also when we use it in the lesson, we will see like how it is translated in many different ways. It has different forms as we have seen here. So it is basically li, fal, wal, and thummal. All of them, they are the forms of lam al-amr. So originally it is li, fal, wal, thummal. So now how you can remember or how you can memorize that we, as we mentioned in the beginning of the lesson, that we have learned about la an-nahiya, then we have learned about lam, lamma. So la an-nahiya, lam, lamma, li, fal, wal, thummal. So again, la an-nahiya, lam, lamma, li, fal, wal, thummal. So this is like your conjugation, or this is like your gardan that you have to memorize. So fal, here lam has become sakin because of fa. It has become sakin, but it remains as lam al-amr. It remains as lam al-amr, as we can see here. Fal yunfiq mimma atahu Allah. Let him spend from what Allah has given him. So here again, we can see that the ending has become sakin because of fal. So basically fa is, as we know, this is extra, or it is used to start the new idea. Whereas this lam is basically lam al-amr, and it will be always used as a combination of fa and la, and lam will always be sakin. So when it is used with fa and wa, then it becomes sakin. When it is used by itself, then it is maksur, it takes kasra. Similarly, we have wal tanzur nafsam ma qaddamat lighad, and let every soul consider what it has sent forth for tomorrow. So here it is also translated as let, and also here it is translated as let. However, it can be translated as should, and also it can be translated as may. Thummal yaqdu tafathahum. Thummal yaqdu tafathahum. Then let them complete their rites. So again, as we can see here, it is used as let. Thummal is used only twice as per my limited knowledge. It's used twice in Surah Al-Hajj, both of the verses from Surah Al-Hajj, which is verse number 15 and 22, Thummal, whereas li, fal, and wal, they are used extensively in the Quran. So inshallah, we will focus on this today, lam al-amr. And similarly, now we can see over here that we have a regular conjugation of the present tense, and I'm sure you are all familiar to it and you have all memorized it. Yadhabu, yadhabani, yadhabuna, tadhabu, tadhabani, yadhabna, tadhabu, tadhabani, tadhabuna, tadhabina, tadhabani, tadhabna, adhabu, and nadhabu. So why we have it here? We have it here for a purpose. So just to refresh it for you so that you don't forget it. And let's proceed now. Now, if we see here, as we discussed in the beginning of the lesson, that when we make fi'l al-amr, when we make command, we have learned in the previous lessons to make a command to mukhatab, or to the second person. So this is called direct command, direct order, or direct respect. What do we say? Request. So for example, we say idhab for singular masculine. For dual, we say idhaba, and for the plural, we say idhabu for the masculine. And similarly, for the feminine, we say idhabi, idhaba, and idhabna. How we have discussed about it several times, that the ending becomes sakin, and then we have to add hamzatul wasl. Now we will see that if we want to make a request or an order or a command to the third person, which is called ghaibun, then we cannot make it in this way. We have to use lam al-amr, as we can see here. So it will be liyadhhab. Liyadhhab. So we know that the ending becomes sakin, and li is always maksur, so it will be liyadhhab. So it will be translated as let him go. Liyadhhaba, let both of them go. Liyadhhabu, let all of them go. And litadhhab, let her go. Litadhhaba, let both of them go. And liyadhhabna, let them all, or let all of them go for the feminine plural. And similarly, if you want to say let me go, we will say liadhhab. And if we want to say let's go, we will say linadhhab. And similarly, when we started the lesson today, so I started with linabda. Linabda. So let's begin our lesson. So it is used for the ghaib and for the mutakallim to make indirect command or request. So that's why here this is like we have discussed about this already, and this is inshallah what we are going to learn today. Similarly, we can make prohibition. We can prohibit the same way we have used the command. So we have learned how to prohibit someone for the second person, for mukhatab or for the second person, and we know that we simply use la and nahiya, and then we make the ending sakin, and our sigha or our form is ready. So we say la tadhhab, la tadhhaba, la tadhhabu, la tadhhabi, la tadhhaba, and la tadhhabna. So now this is for the second person. If we want to prohibit the third person, ghaib, and mutakallim, the first person, then how do we do it? The procedure is the same, but the meaning will be different. Of course, we will use la and nahiya, and the ending becomes sakin, as we can see here. However, the meaning will be different. La yadhhab, he should not go. So it will be translated as let him not go, or he should not go. Similarly, la yadhhaba, la yadhhabu, and la tadhhab, la tadhhaba, and la yadhhabna. So all of them, they will be translated in the same way, that let him not go, or he should not go, or she should not go, or they should not go for the masculine, and they should not go for the feminine. And similarly, la adhab, I should not go, and la nadhab, we shouldn't go. So basically this lesson, or this lam al-amr, and similarly la an-nahiya, it focuses on the third person, and also it focuses on the first person. And about the second person, mukhatab, we have already discussed in detail in book number 2. Now let's look at the example from the Quran. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. Do not spy on one another, nor backbite one another. Okay, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. Now we can see here that normally spying is done on the person who is around us. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, look at the beauty of the Quran. Here it is used la tajassasu. It is a direct command to the second person, to the mukhatab. Why? Because as I said, spying is normally done on the people or upon the people who are around us. But what about backbiting? Backbiting is done on the persons who are ghaib, who are not physically there. So that's why here in the Quran, we can see that the sigha that has been used, or the form that has been used, is for the third person and not for the second person. وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا, nor backbite one another, or one shouldn't backbite the other. And also there is a small rule of the Tajweed over here. We can see over here that ba is sakin, but on ba we don't have the sign of sukun. And on the other hand, the second ba has tashdid on that. So we know that when we have a tashdid on the kalima, then the first kalima is merged into the second kalima. So it is called idgham al-mutajanisain, that when two letters are the same origin, then they are merged. So now if we say that when the wrong tajweed will be wala yaghtab, we don't have to do qalqala. There is no qalqala. Why? Because it is not sakin, it is idgham. So it will be wala yaghtab ba'dukum ba'da. It will be merged into it, and then there will be tashdid on that. That is a rule of the tajweed. But inshallah, when I first came across this verse, I was just like amazed. I just stopped and I was like thinking, subhanallah, normally spying is done on the people or upon the people who are around us, and normally ghiba or backbiting is done upon the people who are not physical there. So that's why when it comes to spying, it is wala tajassasu. And when it is backbiting, which is of course done, may Allah protect all of us, in the absence of the people, that's why here we have the sigha or the form of the third person. Is this clear? Any questions so far?
Alhamdulillah, it's clear.
All right, alhamdulillah. Then we proceed. Then we have seen that we have a Jazzm bil talabi, when we make a command, and the command consists of both. It consists of command and prohibition. Yani it consists of as we know, order, and it also consists of prohibition. Amrun wa nahyun. A mudari preceded by an amr or a nahi. So whenever we have amrun or nahyun, whenever we make a command or whenever we prohibit someone, then the mudari also becomes majzoom. For example, here, iqra. So what is iqra? This is amrun, right? This is order. So iqra marratan ukhra tafhamhu. So now you can see here, because we have talab over here, we have order over here. That's why the mudare here has become majzoom. It was basically tafhamu, right? Tafhamu. But what happened? The ending has become sakin and it has become tafhamhu. Iqra marratan ukhra tafhamhu. Read it again and you will understand it. So this is the example of amrun, which is command. And then we have the example of nahyun, which is prohibition. La taksal tanjah. So as you can see here, it's not tanjahu, it has become sakin. Why? Because now we have prohibition. So do not be lazy. La taksal tanjah, and you will pass and you will succeed. So whenever we have talab, and as we can see here that this is called a jazm bi talabi, i.e. the mudari being majzoom because of the amrun wa nahyun. The word atalabu means demand, and it is used to include both amr and nahi. So whenever we talk about talabun, then it will include either it will be amrun, which is command, or it will be nahyun, which is prohibition. And the mudari majzoom that comes after the amr or nahi is called jawab talab. So we have basically talabun, and then we have jawab talab. So the part that will become majzoom will be called jawab talab. And now we come to this beautiful dua, which we make every day, and every student must make this dua before starting his journey of learning anything. So we have Rabbish rahli sadri. Ishrah is fi'l al-amr, wa yassir li amri, or we will say that yassir is also talab, and wahlul is also talab, as we can see here. It's basically halla yahullu, and when we make fi'l al-amr, it becomes wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. So it was basically yafqahuna, and the noon has been dropped. Why it has been dropped? Because of the talab. Yeah? Because of this is jawab talab, and that's why jawab talab is always majzoom. So as we can see here, and untie the knot for my tongue, that they may understand my speech. So here it is translated as may. As I said, that it can be translated as should. Sometimes it is also translated as like must, but most common is let and should and may, and it depends, like it can be translated as must as well. So this is a jazmu bi talabi. So mudari becomes majzoom because of lam al-amr, and also it becomes majzoom because of when it is a jazm bi talab. So whenever there is a talab, then it also becomes majzoom. And the fourth point here we have is called an-nudbatu. An-nudba is basically nadaba yandubu nudbatan. This is basically masdar. An-nudbatu is basically to lament, to express sorrow, or to express pain. So the expression is, it's like a complete expression which ends with ah. And for example, if someone has like a headache, so he says wa ra'sah. So this is used to express pain. And as we said, or as we discussed, it's called nudba. So from ra'si, my head, the pronoun ya is omitted, and the ending ah is added. So ya will be omitted and ah will be added. So it becomes wa ra'sah. And similarly, if someone's hand is like hurting, he can say wa yadah, wa yadah. It's basically yadi plus ah has been added to it, so it becomes wa yadah. An-nudba is also used to express, as we discussed, sorrow. And to mourn the loss of Bilal, we will say wa bilalah, wa bilalah. Alas for Bilal. This expression is not used in the Quran. Also, it's like archaic Arabic, very old Arabic. In the Quran, we have when we express sorrow, or when someone expresses sorrow, the particle that is used is layta, laytani or waylata. So either it is layta or waylata, which is used in the Quran, whereas in Arabic, this expression is used, which is called nudba. Normally, the Arabs used to do it when someone like passed away, and when someone was killed, And then they used to do this, or we can see it like even these days people do it when someone dies, which is not permissible in Islam. So this is what we call nudba. I mean, lamenting on the dead person. I was just into that context. Now we can let's start our lesson. Ad-darsu athalitha ashara. It could be athalitha ashara, and it could be also ad-darsu athalithu ashara. Both of the constructions are acceptable. Al-Hasan. As we see that always there is a beautiful dialogue between students and the teachers, or among the student and the teachers, so that like we can understand, we can implement the rules that we discussed in the beginning of the lesson. Okay, before we start, do you remember the rules, or do you remember the parts that we have discussed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. Could you please tell me? Lam al-amr. Yes.
Lam al-amr, and then when we have to give command to
Al-Jazzm
third
bil-talabi.
person,
Yes.
or
Yes. Talab. We can simply say talab. Okay. Yes. All right.
and then jawab al-talab will also be majzoom.
And the prohibition and the command to the third person or the first person, right? So how to make a command or how to prohibit the third person or the first person. Al-Hasanu ya ustadu lam afham dars al-amsi jayyidan. I didn't understand yesterday's lesson well. So as you can see here, lam, and after lam, the mudari has become majzoom. Lam afham. Afham is fail plus file. That's why dars is maful bihi. Dars al-amsi, and we know that al-amsi is basically dharf, or it is maful fihi, and jayyidan is maful mutlaq. So I did not understand the lesson well. Al-mudarrisu iqra'hu. So now here it is, as we can see, there is amrun or command. Iqra'hu marratan ukhra. Read it again. Tafhamhu insha'Allah. You will understand it if Allah wills. Khudhu dafatirakum. Take your notebooks. So as we can see here that khudhu is fail al-amr, fail plus file, and here dafatirakum is in the place of maful bihi. So we need to know that only the mudari will be majzoom, but the fatir is like the fatir is basically noun. The noun will not be majzoom. It will be only maful bihi. Khudhu dafatirakum. Take your notebooks. Yakhudhu tullabu dafatirahum. And the students take their notebooks. So this is easy construction. It's not difficult. So I think we can proceed now. We have Muhammadun. Muhammad says, Lam ajid, I didn't find daftari, my notebook. Ya ustadu, O teacher. O teacher, I didn't find my notebook. Al-mudarrisu, ibhath. Okay, ibhath. What kind of verb is this?
Command.
Command, excellent. Ibhath, jayyidan. Look for it well, or try to find it. Tajidhu insha'Allahu. You will find it if Allah wills. So look for it or search for it, and you will find it if Allah wills. So again, we can see here that jawab talab is majzoom over here. Huwa dhu ghilafin asfara. It has a yellow cover. So dhu ghilafin asfara. Why asfara?
Mamnu min as-sarf.
Mamnu min as-sarf. So basically it is mahallan majroor. As we can see that this is the sifa of ghilaf. So ghilaf is majroor because of dhu. Similarly, asfara is also majroor, but this is mahallan majroor. Alaysa kadhalik? Isn't it? Muhammadun, Muhammad, bala, why not? Ha huwa dha, here it is. And ha huwa dha, we have discussed about it in the previous lessons as well. Ha huwa dha, here it is. Bilbabi. Rajulun yuridu an yadkhula. All right. Bilbabi rajulun. So we know that jar majroor. Bilbabi is jar majroor. So
Mubtada muakhar.
Mubtada muakhar, and khabar. What is that? Rajulun is mubtada.
Rajulun is mubtada muakhar.
Okay, excellent. Yes, and then it will be a common noun as we know. So bil babi rajulun. So normally when we have the construction of jar majrur, then it is translated as there is. There is. So we will say bil babi rajulun. There is a man at the door. Yuridu an yadkhula. He wants to get in. There is a man at the door who wants to get in. And as we know that here, an yadkhula. Yes, please. What kind of construction is this? Al-Masdaru al-Mu'awwalu. And what is the i'rab, or what is the status of al-Masdaru al-Mu'awwalu? Is it marfu' or mansub or majroor?
Mansub.
It is mansub. Excellent. Because rajulun is fa'il, yuridu is fa'il, and an yadkhula is in the place of maf'ul bihi. Excellent. Al-Mudarrisu liyadkhul. Let him get in. Now we can see here beautiful expression. Liyadkhul. So this is a small lam, but it has given us a beautiful meaning. Liyadkhul, let him get in. So as we can see here, this is lam al-amr, and the ending has become sakin. And as we can see that it is used for the third person. Let him get in. Ar-rajulu, the man. Ana mumarridun fil mustashfa al-jami'ati. Ana mumarridun, I am a nurse. I am a male nurse. Fi mustashfa al-jami'ati, in the hospital of the university. Uridu an akhudha, I want to take at-tullab al-jududa. I want to take the new students lit-tat'imi, for the vaccination. Uridu an akhudha at-tullab al-jududa lit-tat'imi. I want to take the new students for the vaccination. Al-mudarrisu khudhum, take them. So as we can see here, khud is fail plus file. It's basically amr, command, and hum is in the place of maf'ul bihi. Khudhum, take them. Liyadhhab, again lam al amr. Liyadhhab, so by sakin, and when we connect it with al, we will connect it with kasra. Liyadhhab at-tullab al-jududu. Let the new students go. And here there is a very important point that we need to know, that whenever we use lam al amr, the noun that comes after that has to be marfu'. It is always marfu'. Opposite to fi'l al-amr that we make to the second person. When we make fi'l al-amr to the second person, or prohibition to the second person, then the noun that comes after that will be mansub. But here, always it will be marfu'. This point is very important. Please note it down. لِيَذْهَبِ الطُّلَّابُ الْجُدُدُ إِلَى الْمُسْتَشْفَى. Let the new students go to the hospital. وَلْيَرْجِعُوا, and let them come back بَعْدَ التَّطْعِيمِ, after the vaccination. So let them go, or let the new students go to the hospital, and let them come back after the vaccination. So here we have liyadhhab and walyarji'u. So here we have the use of li, and here we have the use of wal. Li, fal, wal, and thummal. As you remember that it has 4 different forms. Form number 1, as we can see here, is li. This is lam al-amr. Then form number 2 is wal, or we can say fal, and then we have wal, and then we have thummal. So it has 4 different forms. يخرج الطلاب الجدد. The new students go out, or the new students leave. وهم ثلاثة, and they are 3. يخرج الطلاب الجدد وهم ثلاثة. The new students leave, and they are 3. اسمعوا يا إخوانو. Listen, O brothers. سيزور المعهد غدا وفد. So we can see here that سيزور is the verb, and al-mahda is in the place of, it is maf'ul bihi. غدا, as we know, this is the dharf, maf'ul fihi, and wafdun will be the fa'il, the doer. So we have to look for the noun that has dhamma or dhammatain. Normally the noun will be marfu, as we can see over here, when it is zahir. سيزور المعهد غدا وفد. So and a delegation will visit the institute tomorrow. من إحدى جامعات Nigeria, from one of the universities of Nigeria. Min, from إحدى, one of the جامعات universities Nigeria, of the Nigeria. فلا يغب. So fa and la, not, yaghib. So here we can see that this is prohibition, nahi, but this is for the third
बेटा
person.
सो जा गुड़ियाओं
فلا يغب أحد. So as we can see here, after that, the noun is marfu'. As we discussed that when we use prohibition for the third person or for the first person, then the noun after that will be marfu'. فلا يغب أحد ولا يتأخر. So no one should be absent and no one should be late. Wal yalbas, and again here we have the use of wal yalbas kullu talibin. Again we can see here that the noun is marfu after that. Wal yalbas kullu talibin libsa baladihi, and let every student wear the dress of his own country. Wal yalbas, let him wear, who? Kullu talibin, every student, libsa baladihi, the costume or the dress of his own country. Linaqra, let's read, and we know that when we connect it with al, it will be connected with kasra. Linaqra darsa, let's read the lesson, al-ana, now. Ta'ala, this is also, we know that this is also amrun, command. Ta'ala ya adnanu, come here, O Adnan. Waktub, and write. So as we can see here that we have here command, talab, and jawabu talab is majzoom. Waktub hadhihi al-ayata ala saburati, and write this verse on the board. Adnanu, we know it's mamnu min as-sarf because it has alif and noon in the end. Liyaktub aliyun, let Ali write. Fa-inna, as indeed, khattahu ajmalu min khatti, his handwriting is more beautiful than my handwriting. So liyaktub aliyun, let Ali write. And then we know that the use of inna, as we know that we have ismu inna and khabaru inna. So fa inna khattahu, indeed his handwriting is more beautiful than my handwriting. And you know, I hope you remember this expression as well, ajmalu min, which is used for the comparison, muqarana, for the comparison between two. His handwriting is more beautiful than my handwriting. Al-mudarrisu, uktub ya aliyu. Okay, what kind of command is this? Uktub,
Normal.
the direct one, right? Direct command, which we use to make for the second person. So for the second person, we say this is a direct command. Uktub ya aliyu, write, O Ali. Ba'da faraghihi min al-kitabati, after writing. Man yaqra'uha, who will read it? Man yaqra'uha, who will read it? So as we can see that faraghihi, ba'da, after ba'da, we know that the noun has to be majroor. Why? Because ba'da is used as special mudaf, and after min, as we know, this is harf jar, the noun has to be majroor as well. So ba'da faraghihi min al-kitabati, after writing, man yaqra'uha, who will read it? Al-hasanu liyaqra'ha, ha refers to the verse of the Quran. It refers to the verse of the Quran. Liyaqra'ha Muhammadun, let Muhammad read. فَإِنَّهُ قَارِئٌ ذُو صَوْتٍ جَمِيلٍ, because he is a qari who has beautiful voice, or who possesses a beautiful voice. So he wants Muhammad to recite or to read, because he is a reciter whose voice is beautiful. He is a reciter whose voice is beautiful. Muhammadun ba'da al-istiyadati wal basmalati. Istiyada is, as we know that this is verb from number 10, which is on the pattern of istaghfara yastaghfiru. So it's basically ista'adha yasta'idu, istiyadatan, to seek refuge. And then we have basmalati. Basmala is basically a verb form that consists of 4 root letters. So this is called af'alu ruba'iyya, which consists of 4 root letters. So this is basmala, yubasmilu, basmalatan. Like we have zalzala, yuzalzilu, zalzalatan. So it's on that pattern. These are like very few verbs that have been used in the Quran, and the Sheikh has also introduced these lessons, these verbs in one of the lessons. So inshallah, when we start our from lesson number 16, we will come to know about these. So as we can see here, that isti'adha is basically seeking refuge, and then basmala is basically reciting Bismillah. Fal, so we can see here fal. So fal is basically lam al amr, right? فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ. So as we can see here that after that, it is sakin, and when we connect it with al, then we put kasra over there, and the noun that comes after that will be marfu. فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. Then let mankind look at his food. So it will be also translated as, then let mankind look at his food. So this is also lam al-amr, and it's used a lot in the Quran. Anwaru, then we have Anwar on the pattern of afalu mamnu min as-sarf. Ya ustadu, O teacher, uridu an akhruja, I want to leave. Now I'm sure that you are used to it, that an akhruja is basically al-masdaru al-mu'awwalu, and this is in the place of maf'ul bihi. Basically he wants to say uridu khuruji, I want to go out. So uridu an akhruja, uridu is fi'l plus fa'il, and an akhruja is in the place of maf'ul bihi, I want to go out. Al-mudarrisu la yakhruj ahadun fi athna'i ad-darsi. La yakhruj ahadun, no one should leave fi athna'i ad-darsi, during the lesson. So now here, this is not direct command, this is indirect command. Yani, no one is allowed, or no one should leave the classroom, or no one should leave during the lesson. So that's why here we have the prohibition for the third person. If it is directly for him, for Anwar, then the teacher will say, La takhruj. La takhruj fi athna'i darsi. The teacher will say like this to him. But when the teacher says, La yakhruj ahadun, that means no one should be leaving, no one is allowed, or no one should leave when the lesson is going on. Az-Zubairu. Now here we have Nudba, wa ra'sah, wa ra'sah. So he's basically saying, I have headache, I have headache. Al-Mudarrisu, ma bika ya Zubairu. Or he's saying like, I have pain. In fact, he's saying, I have pain, I have pain. So ma bika ya Zubairu, what happened to you, O Zubair? Az-Zubairu, bi suda'un shadidun, I have severe headache. Bi suda'un shadidun, I have severe headache. Ahi, ahi, or ahi. And this is is also basically, this is ismal, like a noun that is used to make ismal fi'li, which is used to make a command. Like we have learned about, we have in the Quran like hayhata, and we also have learned ameen. Also, this is also one of them. This is basically, this is also used to express like pain as well. Idhab ila al-mustashfa. Al-mudarrisu idhab ila al-mustashfa, go to the hospital. Wal yadhhab ma'aka ahadun, or ahadu zumalaika. So basically we know that ahad and ihda, both of them mostly they are used as mudaf. They are used as mudaf. So that's why we can see here wal yadhhab. So wal is basically lam al-amr, as we have seen li, fal, wal, thummal. So it has 4 different forms. So this is one of the forms. Wal yadhhab ma'aka, and let him go. Who? Ahadu zumalaika, one of your colleagues, fis sakani, from the dormitory or from the accommodation. So let one of your colleagues go with you from the accommodation. Az-Zubairu, falyadhhab ma'i Adnanu. Then let Adnan go with me. Falyadhhab ma'iya Adnanun. And then let Adnan go with me. So this is a beautiful lesson which consists of beautiful ideas, and inshallah, I'm sure that now when you are reciting the Quran, especially we can see that Mudari becomes majzoom for several reasons. We have discussed only about La an-Nahiya and Lam and Lamma, and now we have learned about Li, which is basically Lam al-Amr, and which has 4 forms, Li, Lam, Fal, Wal, Li, Wal, Fal, Wal, and Thummal. And then we have learned that Jawab al-Talab is always majzoom. So basically we have learned about 5 different kinds, and there are many more to come when we will see that the Mudari becomes majzoom. So inshallah, I hope that this lesson is beneficial. Try to implement it when you are reciting the Quran, when you are learning the Quran. And inshallah, when we meet again, we will start from the exercises.
Inshallah.
Any question?
I have a question. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair, Ustad.
Oh, yeah.
This is the same ruling as it applies in the Tajweed rules as well. Lam and Amr. Additional lam before the verb in present tense.
The rules of the Tajweed are different from the rules of the language. Like what exactly you want to say?
Because all these words you've used, lam al amr.
Yes.
I'm just looking at my notes, they are very similar, and you've got the harf coming fa, wow, and thumma as well. This
basically, these are connecting particles. They are used to connect
connecting
particles. Yes, fa, wa, and when they are used with lam al amr, as we know that lam al amr is maksur, but when we use wa before it, or when we use thumma before it, or when we use fa before it, then lam al amr becomes majzoom. It becomes sakin. So it changes into fal, wal, and thummal.
Jazakallah khair.
وإياكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.